Hello, everybody. Happy early Monday morning, October 20th, 2025. I am going to enter this kind of fun competition. I just discovered this guy today. His name is Jason Goodman. and I should be doing Boo stuff right now, but Boo, you would understand. Baby girl, you would understand what's going on because it's a competition and you like competitions just as much as I do. So I'm going after this. It's a pot for, well, so far it's $3,300. It's going to go a nice way toward paying for my new front tooth that I need right now. Done with the Invisaligns and ready to go get a new front tooth. It's going to cost me at least that, like $3,000 to $5,000. So let's go. Let's go get a new front tooth. Not on a payment plan. I've been paying. Okay, let's go. Come here, cat. I'm still having catty problems. Come say hi to the camera if you want. Okay, look, see? Say hi to the camera. Bye. Now don't step on this thing. All right, we're going to try to do this in less than 10 minutes, 5 minutes or less. What do we have? Okay, so I have one I'm going to submit. You try to prove him wrong. He's got this thing. We're on the Charlie Kirk shooting. And we try to prove him wrong, but my tact is, no, you prove me wrong. You prove me wrong. So that's how we're going to do this. Well, I'm proving him not 100% wrong, but I'm proving him wrong by asking him to prove me wrong. So I have a Word file that I'm going to PDF it and email that in along with this video for the competition. I'm going to send it here. I'm also going to post it to YouTube, and let's get on with it. There is an email you send this to. Where do you email it to? Come on. Crowdsource, Substack. Oh, we can upload a file here. Sponsored. There it is. Truth at Crowdsourcing. Truth at Crowdsourcing. Truth at crowdsourcethetruth.org. Yes. Also, there is a requirement which is cracking me up. You have to, this is cracking me up more than anything. You have to have spent at least $5 a month minimum on one of these sites. And my X Premium, I am suspended from X, but I still pay the $3 a month. I pay $3 a month. I used to pay $3 a month for X. And then when they suspended me, there was no way to stop paying that, because you go to your account at X and you say your suspended account, and you try to get to your account information, and they say, sorry, your account is suspended. You can't go to this account information page to stop the subscription. Like, what the hell? And then when you get a whole new card in, they still charge the new card. I'm still being charged $3 a month, which is fine, because I used to go to X and get the For You feed at least, and do a little bit of searches, and then they stopped that just a couple weeks ago when I criticized Grok, and exposed him for all the false information he was giving out. And it's been shown that even on Wikipedia, they state that Grok has been showing a lot of false information on the Charlie Kirk shooting and other things. So it wasn't just me, but they completely canceled it, and they said, subscribe to X to get the For You feed. You're going to need to do that. I said, I am. I just paid $3 on the 28th. So I went and I subscribed. So I paid another $3 just a couple weeks ago. And those $3 got me the For You feed for like a day. And now I don't get the For You feed again. I can't do searches. I want to keep the money up for now, because my account is still there and I can see some of my tweets, but I can't go into any of the replies. I can't scroll very far, but I've paid $6. So this competition is between October 4th and November 4th. And between October 4th and November 4th, I will have paid, coming up in another 2 days, I will have paid automatically another $3. I will have paid $6 in that time frame for 2 Premium X subscription amounts for the same premium subscription that I'm getting nothing for. I did it, so I passed this. I'm just letting you guys know I have passed the X Premium. I could prove that if you want me to. All right, let's go. By $1, I'm paying $1 more than the requirement. All right, let's do it. So let's just, where did I start again? Oh, okay. Let's start with my paper. All right, so prove me wrong. So we're going to start with the reliable evidence in the Charlie Kirk shooting in chronological order. So, number one, the initial footage of Charlie reportedly being shot at 12:23 and 30 seconds p.m. Mountain Time, showing apparently fatal bleeding out from the neck. So that footage, I believe, is real. At least that. I'm not trying to get up close. I'm not trying to slow it down. From what I saw and what everybody saw was something apparently happening to his neck, and then a lot of blood coming out, a lot more than you would think. And I believe that was real. Whatever I saw, I'm not sure there was. I mean, I'm going to claim there's a fake shooting. There was no bullet, but that's going to be the ultimate claim. But let's just get there piece by piece. And this is even more interesting. Jason Goodman is a Hollywood guy, so okay, it was my conclusion right from the start. Don't chuck me out yet. It was a fake shooting run by Trump, and this is his guy. This is the guy who directed it and ran it, and he knows a lot about digital stuff. But he ran it, and yeah, this is the Trump guy. So Trump did this, and that's it. He ran it, and it was a fake shooting. And that's my story, and I'm sticking with it. But let's get there. Let's go from point A to point B, people. Okay. So the initial footage, I believe that. I believe there was enough out there. Whatever. Some of it could have been tampered with. The slow down stuff, any of it. I don't care. I believe when the first thing I saw at like 3 o'clock Eastern time, 1 o'clock. Oh no, it's 5 o'clock. What time was it when he was shot? 2:33. Yeah, it was like 3 o'clock. It was 3 or 4 in the evening, I think, when I read it, when I first saw that. So yeah, and I'll tell you how I know that. So I'll tell you how I know this, because the first thing I wrote to YouTube, I don't have access to anything but YouTube right now. On September 10th at 3:20. At 3:18 p.m., I wrote on my usual spot here at the Kelly Clarkson, Where Have You Been streaming. I wrote either Charlie Kirk is dead or that was a fake shooting. Boom. Okay. That is the conclusion. So here I'm going to have evidence, and then I have a conclusion. So the conclusion from this evidence, which is real, and I think we could all agree from what we saw just in general, that either Charlie Kirk died instantly or it was a fake shooting. Now, by that I mean, just from what I saw, now you don't have to be an expert, but a jury, if you're a jury person, you're going to see that and you're going to say, wow, that does not look good. He looks like he lost a lot of blood, and I don't think he could survive that. And a lot of people agree with this, and we can get experts to get on the witness stand. But I think we could all agree that he probably, if this was a real shooting, he died instantly. And if it's a fake shooting, meaning he faked being dead, we're going to get a pulse, he's going to be alive, and it's going to be a miracle and all this stuff. That was probably the original plan. And if we had come back and it's like, oh, he survived, it's a miracle, I would have said that was a fake shooting. So, conclusion, prove me wrong. From just that evidence, Charlie either died instantly or it was a fake shooting. All right? He wasn't shot at all. That was just fake blood coming out. So there's some evidence that this is what happened, and that there were people saying he had a pulse later and all this stuff. So I don't think he would have a pulse even. So if the pulse stuff is real, then that's more evidence that it was a fake shooting. So yeah, that's that. And I wrote it, and that's the first thing I wrote, and that's the first thing I saw, and I think I still stick by that over a month later. All right. So 2, Trump's Truth Social account posted a comment. Well, I'm going to keep it. posts a comment at 1:03 p.m. Mountain Time that Charlie Kirk is a great guy from quote unquote top to bottom. All right, I don't have my X account anymore, so I can't go get it, but that's what happened. You could confirm that, and I can't confirm it here anymore. You can confirm it by Google, whatever it is. Conclusion: whoever is running Trump's account is laughing at Charlie Kirk for being closeted gay and was probably with Charlie as this comment was posted. In other words, the shooting was fake, Charlie is alive, and Trump is behind the whole thing. Prove me wrong. All right, this is what I concluded. And if those are the only two pieces of evidence and nothing else, well, the other piece of evidence that I have is my gay, not gay list, where I had Charlie pegged as a closeted gay man 3 years ago. Okay, this is evidence that I cannot present for the competition. I understand that. It's too controversial, and it's like, how do I prove that I have an impeccable gaydar and all this stuff? How do I get people to trust it? I'm just building from here that when I believe that Charlie Kirk is closeted gay, and when you post something like this, I understand Trump, and when he says from top to bottom, I think out in the real world, you could search this around, but it's a lot of gay people got this right away. This joke, like, what? I think it was Don Jr., who was gay, did this, and I think he's a good friend of Charlie Kirk, okay? So this is, don't worry about this. This is just, I mean, it's probably what happened, and, you know, this is probably the truth, but it's not strong evidence for this competition. But for as far as I'm concerned, when I saw this, and that it was confirmed right here, I posted at 3:24 when after I saw this, 3:24. I didn't see this tweet. I didn't see anything until what was it? 3:00. Okay, so Eastern time. I'm still leaning fake shooting since Trump made a joke about Charlie Kirk being gay when he asked everybody to pray for Charlie, who was a great guy from top to bottom. I'm not going to go in that whole comment, but that was the comment I put here. So I'm just showing you I'm still 100% on this. This is the only evidence I have so far. We're going chronologically, and as far as I'm concerned, it's a fake shooting. Trump is behind it, and Charlie Kirk is gay, and he's going somewhere else to transition now. He's tired of whatever he's doing and whatever. He didn't want to be a husband and father anymore. He wanted to go transition like Emily. What is that movie? You know, that drug dealer who just went and transitioned, and everybody said he was dead. A lot of people do this. I think it's not the first time that's happened in history. It probably happens all the time in history. People say they die and they go away and go to San Francisco and be somebody else. Evidence three, in chronological order. Trump's Truth Social account announces at 2:40 p.m., over 2 hours, 2.5 hours after the initial shooting, that Charlie Kirk is dead. Conclusion: it is a fake shooting, okay, because it is taking way too long for somebody official to pronounce Charlie, who obviously would have died instantly if it were a real shooting, as dead. Trump is behind the fake shooting because he is the only one who could pronounce Charlie dead like this and get away with it. Prove me wrong. I mean, on what planet does the President of the United States be the official announcement of somebody's death, and not a medical examiner, the police, the FBI, any kind of official, a doctor at the hospital, the person who pronounced him dead, anything? Charlie Kirk is dead. He died from a gunshot wound, or he died from a apparent gunshot wound. That's all you have to say, or whatever it is. Just normal, everyday business. Now, prove me wrong that there was something odd here, and that it just proves that Charlie is still alive, because nobody official has come forth and said and pronounced him dead. So he's still alive as far as I'm concerned. As far as the evidence so far, if that's the only evidence we have, and okay. 4, witness and audio evidence have established that a single supersonic gunshot originated from the general direction of the Low C Center at the UVU campus. Okay, so everybody knows what this is who's doing this stuff. They know the Losi Center. That's where Tyler Robinson was accused of shooting Charlie Kirk. Conclusion: a single supersonic gunshot originated from the general direction of the Losi Center. Prove me wrong. I think that this is really strong evidence. A lot of witnesses turned in that direction. They heard the shot coming from that direction, and all the audio, whatever. I'm not an expert in this area, but it seems to be solid that a single gunshot originated from that area. Okay, so that's the conclusion. 5. There was no line of sight from anywhere on the rooftop of the Losi Center to Charlie Kirk's upper body because the tent Charlie was seated under blocked the view. Prove me wrong. Conclusion: the supersonic bullet shot from the general direction of the Losi Center did not strike the tent nor Charlie Kirk. Prove me wrong. The supersonic was just because it was loud and there's a certain, I didn't get this. This is depending on the information that's already out there. And the information that's already out there is it was a supersonic boom there's a boom and a cackle, something like that. The sound that it made was a typical rifle sound, supersonic bullet, a boom and something like that. So that's, I'm basing this on, that guy at Paramount Tactical, Gary Melton, and everybody else doing all this stuff. Okay. 6. Somebody carrying a rifle-shaped object was videotaped running on the rooftop of the Losi Center and jumping down from one corner of the rooftop, leaving a handprint. So this is evidence that's out there that I believe. And a lot of people were saying, oh, he doesn't have a gun when he's running. And Gary Hughes debunked that. I mean, he saw this immediately. And if you look carefully and you slow down the video, which I believe, there was somebody doing that. Conclusion: this was not Tyler Robinson because the handprint and the DNA left on the edge of the rooftop do not match the DNA and handprints of Tyler Robinson. Prove me wrong. I mean, it's just not out there. It would be in the charging papers. Okay, that information would be in the charging papers because you need to connect somehow Tyler Robinson with being on the rooftop. That's the whole key to this whole thing. And they didn't put that in the charging papers, so it doesn't exist as far as I'm concerned. If it's not on the charging papers, it doesn't exist. And go ahead and convince me that they're keeping it for this and that and the other. Well, if they're keeping it for this, that, and the other, that means they're looking for other people involved, which means Tyler Robinson maybe didn't do this, right? So prove me wrong. Yeah. So yeah, I believe somebody was on the rooftop and they had something that looked like a rifle, and maybe they did that shot from there or not. I don't know. And that's all the evidence proves, is that somebody had what looked like a rifle. It doesn't prove that they shot Charlie Kirk. It doesn't prove anything. It doesn't prove a thing. I mean, the circumstantial there is they might have, okay. So, I want to do the line of sight. Okay, well, let's do the line of sight. There was no line of sight. Oh, I just said this from the rooftop. Oh, I said that casually without proving that one, didn't I? Okay, so Charlie Kirk, the truth. Okay, let's get rid of that. We had my YouTubes. And, okay, so here's the line of sight evidence. You just go online and you say Charlie Kirk shooting video from a distance. Somebody from a distance in the audience.
I do want to share with our viewers here some video and some sound of now the late Charlie Kirk. And here's what.
Okay, so I don't need anything. All I need is they don't show the actual shooting, but this is Charlie Kirk sitting under the tent, and right here you can barely see the top of his head, and this person at the is up on the hill in that little amphitheater, or I don't know where their location is, but they're not on a rooftop. They're not 3 or 4 stories up high in the air. Okay, so this is like he's down in an amphitheater in a pit, and the shooter is supposedly on top of a rooftop way over here 150 yards away, you are not going to see the top of his head or even his chest, or maybe not even his legs from this video. If you believe this video, which is somebody who's up on top of that little hill of the amphitheater, somebody who's even higher up isn't going to see him. You don't have a line of sight just from this evidence alone. But then I don't know what then we're going to okay, that's alone. Okay, so here we go.
And one of the things that you and I were...
This is Gary Melton. This is Gary Gray. Oh, Gray. I thought his name was Gary. Gary Melton and Gray Hughes. Sorry, I mispronounced him.
Just talking about right before we jumped on here. It's one thing to know that you can go right up to the roof and all those other things. The thing that you were talking about and we were discussing right before we went live was knowing for a fact that he had a line of sight from the edge of that building.
Right.
That is one component of this that, I mean, he almost would have had to have gone out there at some point onto that roof, into that exact spot to be able to confirm that for sure. You can definitely look and you can definitely see from Google Earth. I think you can get an idea that you're going to have a line of sight.
If you want, you can throw me on there. I can just...
Yeah.
There are 3 kinds of methylene blue that you can take, and a lot of people are selling. The first one is Indian curry methylene blue, and that's because...
Yeah, so like right here, this is where the door is. You go into the low-C building, then you come up the stairs, and there's a fence right here now, but you can just jump right over. That's where he put the rifle together. And then right from over here, I think right around like 12, 23, 25, from right in this...
Okay, so before we go on to here, Gary is really caught up in... Gary is fine, but he's caught up in a lot of misinformation where things are conflated. Now, I've been asking him, I always, like, if, for instance, if I say, there was no line of sight, he'll say, yeah, I just proved it. Look, you could see the tent. Or you could see Charlie Kirk from here. And I'm going, no, you can't. I'm not talking about line of sight to the tent this way or that way. I'm talking about line of sight down into Charlie himself. I'm saying the tent is in the way, not all these buildings. And he doesn't realize that. And that's why I said they took the tent down so quickly. Okay. Another thing he conflates that drives me crazy is I believe it was a video camera gun, but he conflates camera gun with the video camera gun. I believe it was the video behind Charlie Kirk that was the gun, but because he keeps thinking in his brain, anytime you say camera gun, he's thinking of a little iPhone camera. He's not thinking of that huge camera that could absolutely be a gun, enough, at least with enough power to shoot something that would kill Charlie from behind, and it's right behind him. So he dismisses anything that anytime you say camera gun, he dismisses anytime you say line of sight problems, because he doesn't see these things, and that's how the misinformation gets out with him. Like he has people around him who feed him, oh, those people with the camera guns and all the holograms. And it's just straw man arguments. It's straw man. And this happened during 9/11 too, when Alex Jones, not Alex Jones, what was his name? Stephen Jones? This guy was a plant who obviously was trying to debunk thermite. He would say, oh, there's this molten thermite in the blah, 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 and he made all this stuff, and he sounded so stupid, and it was so obvious he was an idiot, so that anytime anybody said the word thermite, they were immediately dismissed so that nobody would hear anything else. And it turns out it was nanothermite that, probably imploded those buildings. Nanothermite is a very different character from thermite itself. It's just as powerful, but it's a different form. And that's what caused all that smoke for days and days and days. That's why we had only dust and nothing left over. Like, what the hell was that? Anyway, let's just not get into, go to, whatever. I have, I don't know. I have links everywhere for the 9/11 stuff I did. So, but it's the same thing here. Anytime you have this, they're conflating. And then the third thing, both of these guys conflate. I'm not sure Gray Hughes, he might be a plant because, he'll say stuff that's like, are you serious? Anyway, So let's not get into that in this video. So the other thing they'll conflate is jury. They'll say, how ridiculous. People say that we shouldn't have ruined this evidence and taken down the tent so fast so that the jury can see this. The jury might not convene for another year. And it's like, no, now you're conflating grand jury with jury. So why is Trump doing this? He does things for many reasons. We might not get the truth out of it because sometimes he does so many deals behind the scenes. And it could be he's finally, thank you if you're doing this for me, Trump. Like I've been trying to push for the grand jury indictments being at the state level. That's the way the Constitution has it. There's a wrong ruling on this back in 1864. It's all a mess. But to get our jury system in order, we need to really get grand jury indictments on all serious crimes throughout all the states, just the way it is at the federal level. Okay, and that will diminish corruption. It will diminish mistakes. Because once people make a mistake, especially if it's a single judge, they won't go back on it, even if it's, like, for instance, no autopsy was done. It wasn't planned that way. They were tricked. Trump probably tricked them. They said, FBI is doing the autopsy. Oh, okay. And then the FBI, the people at the FBI, they were told, no, the medical examiner in Utah is doing the autopsy. Okay. And then the body is taken, flown to Phoenix, and then they said, where's the autopsy? I thought you did it. Once that mistake is made, it's not they're going to come out and say it because, Kash Patel's going to get his ass fired. So the autopsy wasn't done by accident, but by trick. All right, probably. And this stuff happens all the time, especially when you have, this kind of stuff. It's very easy. It's easier than people think. But this kind of stuff won't happen if there is a jury indictment on everything, because a jury will not put up with no autopsy. So the mistake can't be covered over the way they're doing it now. They're covering it over. There was no autopsy by mistake, and now they're going to try to keep going and try to convict this guy without autopsy when it's 95% of this case is going to be the autopsy report. Because it's very confusing otherwise. So they're not going to be able to get away with it. So Trump is behind the scenes, and he's probably trying to get all the states to incorporate to follow the Constitution, which is the Fifth Amendment right to a grand jury indictment on all serious crimes. I don't know how people got that to say that it doesn't apply to state courts. It's crazy. It's nuts to say that, and it's nuts that we're still doing things this way. 20 states, all the federal government honors this, of course, but 20 state governments do this too. So 30 out of the 20 states don't do this, and Utah is one of them, and it's obvious that, so this one of the many goals for Trump doing this. One of them is to just really push politically behind the scenes. Like, it won't surprise me if the truth doesn't come out here that it was a fake shooting, but watch it happen. A year from now, I'll go, oh, thank you, Trump, because there's going to be some big ruling, or there's going to be some stuff where all of a sudden 30 out of the 50 states, 40, like 50 out of the 50 states are now have mandatory grand jury indictments instead of these, the government. It's the people involved. The best vote on the planet, the most powerful vote, is if you are on a grand jury. Okay, that's one vote out of 15, 13 people. The grand jury does a lot. The grand jury would stand here and see if there was a line of sight down into that tent and say, no, there isn't one. But they took the tent down. And they could do that before there's charging. So they would have done it. So shot on the 10th, they would have, probably a grand jury could have convened and seen it on it takes 3 or 4 days, the 15th, 16th, before there's any kind of initial charging. And they took this down on like the 15th. Like, are you serious? They took the number one piece of evidence down for the line of sight. Somebody took some kind of a picture, but that's not gonna fly, because it could have been, I don't know what they think that pictures can do it. Even Gary himself admits. So let's show you. So even here, it's kind of admits, and he doesn't see it. Watch, they even show here.
You just go about like that, and then Charlie Kirk was right here under the tent.
Okay, so do you see Charlie Kirk? I don't know what this is the weirdest thing I've ever seen. Right here in the video where he's claiming Yeah, he had a line of sight. They're showing this, and he doesn't have a line of sight. I mean, it's the weirdest thing. Like, what? I don't know what this video is, but I'm offering it as evidence that he had no line of sight. I don't know what that is. If it's a modeling, or if that's the real tent there, or what that is. Is that the? I don't know what that is because they went out with drones, but the tent isn't there anymore. So I don't know if this is a modeling or not. But I'm just offering it up as more evidence. There was more, in addition to the real photo showing his head cut off at a lower level. They didn't have a line of sight.
Right there. So it's really, how did he know? Like, if the thing is, if Charlie Kirk was set up like 10 feet to the right, you might not. I guess he could have still moved over right to the edge of this thing. So from right there, there's still a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's crazy though, but if he'd laid down, that's probably why he shimmied over too. Like he gets over there and he shimmied over. They said in the documents.
Okay, so did you hear Gray Hughes? He said they said in the documents that he lied down and shimmied over. That's not anywhere in the documents. It doesn't say that at all. Okay, so I'm just telling you that's.
So he kind of went like that, low crawled, I think they called it.
Okay, so you notice he said it's a low crawl. I think they called it. So listen to this.
Is that a military term?
Yeah, well, I mean, that's technically not low crawling, but
so shimmying over, technically a low. So Gary, we need to straighten this out because this is how things get confusing. The charging papers is all we have, and it's just 10 pages long, and there's actually only 5 pages that mention this stuff, the probable cause stuff. So it's really just 5 pages, and these guys apparently don't read it, which is incredible. They spend 8 hours a day, for a month on this stuff only, and they don't take what would be less than 20 minutes to actually read the only solid piece of things we have, which is the charging documents. I'm going to go over it later, and I'm going to show you that the charging documents don't say that. The charging documents say, and they incorrectly called it a low crawl. In military term, a low crawl is you're literally on your belly and you're crawling on your belly. But in the charging papers, they say he went down and then went to the edge in a low crawl, meaning a crawl like a baby, and then he dropped to a prone position and took a shot. So once he dropped to the prone position, he didn't shimmy, he didn't move, like he's suggesting. They said that he dropped down, and then that's not what it was said at all. He crawled on his hands and knees, not a low crawl, military. So the charging papers they were misguided. They just misused the term low crawl because militarily it doesn't mean on your hands and knees. A low crawl is snipers do this all the time. I looked up the definition, but I have it. I'll show it later. But I just wanted to show you that according to what they're showing here, there was
right. That's what they said.
whatever.
Yeah. Okay.
He was in the prone and he moved laterally to his left. We'll just call it.
He was in the prone and he moved laterally to his left. He did not do that. The charging paper says he did a low crawl and then dropped prone and then took the shot. That's what the charging papers say. These guys they're not even getting the only information that we have correct here. I mean, it's the most basic stuff. It drives me crazy.
Call it that.
Uh-huh. Yeah, so using Google Earth, he could have done all of the stuff that we're looking at here, and then maybe even could see that there's stairs, from right over here.
Okay, so we're done with these guys. I'm going to get back to that later. Witness audio. There was no line of sight from anywhere on the rooftop of the Losi Center to Charlie Kirk's upper body because the tent Charlie was seated under blocked the view. Conclusion. The supersonic bullet shot from the general direction of the Losi Center did not strike the tent nor Charlie Kirk. Prove me wrong. 6. Somebody carrying a rifle-shaped object was videotaped running across on the rooftop of the Losi Center and jumping down from one corner. I already went over this. Conclusion. Leaving a handprint. Conclusion. This was not Tyler Robinson because the handprint and DNA left on the edge of the rooftop do not match the DNA and handprints of Tyler Robinson. Prove me wrong. There was no. They said that there was evidence on the gun. There's DNA evidence on the gun, on the empty shells. but they never mentioned in the charging papers that there was DNA evidence that matched this print. And yeah, there's all sorts of evidence that there was a print found there. Oh, and by the way, there was anybody who says that there was no. Anyway, okay. Number 7. No autopsy was reported as being completed by any official. The charging papers do not mention that an autopsy was completed, nor is the word autopsy mentioned anywhere in the charging papers. And Utah County Attorney Jeffrey Gray exposed an important quote-unquote autopsy downgrade when the version of the charging papers he read to the public on 9/16/25, and we're going to look at that video in a second, caused him to pause and ad-lib for only the second time so far in his reading of the document. So I went over the document word for word, comma for comma, as he was reading it in the video, to make sure that the document I was seeing was exactly what he was saying in the video where he came out publicly. And I'll show you that in a minute. It's very interesting. The few places where he varied are very interesting. So we'll go over that. So I exposed when the version of the charging papers he read to the public on 9/16/25, available here, caused him to pause and ad-lib for only the second time so far in his reading of the document, stating, quote unquote, the medical examiner's report is still pending. At page 4, paragraph 6 of the charging papers, the actual wording is, the medical examiner's report is pending. So he had a hard time reading that sentence when he was reading everything very clearly up to that point. So when he changed it to the medical examiner's report is pending, or they did, to the medical examiner's report is still pending. When you say the medical examiner's report is still pending, it means it's going and it's pending. But when you say it's just it's subtle, but it's an important change in wording. They're less sure. He knows. I'm just saying that he knows there isn't an autopsy, and this is part of the cover-up. And they have to kind of ease their way out of saying it's still pending to we're the medical. They don't say autopsy. They say the medical examiner's report is pending. Like it's doesn't exist, so it's going to pend forever. And when it says still pending, it means they had an autopsy. They started an autopsy. It's still pending. But when they say the medical examiner's report is pending, it doesn't. It just does. There wasn't one, so it could be pending forever. Still infers that it was started. Pending means it might not have even started. That's what I'm saying. The difference between the charging paper, the examiner's report is still pending, is that one was started at some point, and the medical examiner's report is pending means it might not have even begun. Conclusion: no autopsy was performed. Prove me wrong. 8. If the shooting were real, the apparent wound on Charlie's neck is more consistent with an exit wound than an entry wound. Conclusion: if Charlie Kirk was shot, he was shot from behind, and the bullet hit a major vein or artery while on its way out the front of Charlie's neck. This is a combination of just what we're seeing in the video. This is not, according to experts, this is not an entry wound, and it's not an entry wound at all, even for a very large 30-06 bullet. This is not consistent with an entry wound. Even Gary Melton, the guy I'm following at Paramount Tactical, is so positive it is not an entry wound that he's so married to the theory that the bullet hit some kind of armor in the front. It's the only explanation. And this is not an entry wound. It's scrapnel. It's like a fragmented piece, a piece where a lot of the energy already hit this. Like it's a lower energy, bigger, fragmented, tumbling something, but it is not a direct hit from a bullet. Even a 30-aught bullet is not going to make that big of a big large wound like that. So it's an exit wound. That's all there is to it. It's more likely to, just from the look of it, it's an exit wound. Conclusion. If Charlie Kirk was shot, he was shot from behind and the bullet hit a major vein or artery from all the blood that comes out while on its way out the front of Charlie's neck. So what you're seeing is the bullet comes out, a bigger wound that's not an entry, and then a big gush. That's not an entry, or an entry wound does not do that. An exit wound has a big gush of blood. An entry wound, it closes up. The skin closes up after it. So you barely see a wound a lot of times. So you don't see a big gush of blood coming out. That's an exit wound kind of a thing going on there. 9. No gunshot sound was reported by witnesses or by audio analysis as coming from the general direction of behind Charlie Kirk. That doesn't make sense. General direction behind Charlie Kirk. Conclusions. 2 conclusions. 1. If the shooting were real, the bullet shot from behind Charlie had to be subsonic, and that is slower than 1125 feet per second. Silenced as much as possible and perfectly timed, most likely by a relay. Relay. I'm going to do this for my Wordle muses. I'm going to put relay in capitals. Remember that when it was the Wordle, when they're helping me with this, they put chair, they put relay, they put spasm. Anyway, and perfectly timed, most likely by a relay, to be covered over by the supersonic boom of the rifle shot from the loci center. Prove me wrong. The shot from behind Charlie could not be from a pneumatic gun, an air gun, because air guns are louder than rifles. They want me to put a comma here. Even when shooting subsonic bullets, prove me wrong. So this information, all of my information comes from experts, and you have to know what to believe from them and not believe, but I'm not picking and choosing. There are no quiet air rifles made anywhere that I am aware of. Okay? So it's not an air rifle. Because this Jason Goodman guy is saying it's an air rifle with a 50 caliber bullet. And it's not an air rifle because you would hear it. It's louder than the rifle. You need something that's subsonic and something that's quiet. So, 10. It is highly unlikely that a bullet, even a 50 caliber one, traveling 500 to 600 feet per second. Okay, this is what Goodman is proposing. There's a 50 caliber bullet traveling 500 to 600 feet per second could hit both a vertebra and a major vein or artery in a human neck and also have enough energy left over to exit the neck, causing an exit wound. And if it does do all these things, it will certainly not be in a straight line. So this is physics. This does not happen here. Now, you say, don't ask Google, it's stupid, but it's just a jumping point. I agree with Google and the experts. It is extremely unlikely and virtually impossible for a bullet traveling at 600 feet per second to pass cleanly through the neck, hit the spine and a major artery, and exit in a straight line. So if it's doing all this, if it's doing all these things, it's not going to be in a straight line. That's fine. It might be able to do all these things. It might be able to go through the spine and cause damages to the artery, and there's all sorts of other things it could do, like it says it explodes and cause, but the line going through the body, exploding or not, is not going to be straight. It's going to be bouncing all over the place. And this is important because it's ballistics, and the conclusion is if a 50 caliber bullet traveling 500 or 600 feet per second is what struck Charlie Kirk as Jason Goodman proposes, it's fine, but there are some caveats to this. Is what struck Charlie Kirk from behind If a 50 caliber bullet traveling 500 to 600 feet per second is what struck Charlie Kirk from behind and caused an exit wound on the front of Charlie's neck, it most likely did not hit any bone, only a vein or artery. So the shot had to come from directly behind Charlie, miss Charlie's spine to Charlie's left, and exit the left side of Charlie's neck after striking only the major vein or artery, i.e., the video camera directly behind Charlie was more likely the origin of the bullet and not anything else off to an angle that would have the bullet passing through Charlie's spine. Prove me wrong. So this Jason Goodman has some evidence that I don't know if I want to believe it or not, but it looks like it. I tend to believe him. I just tend to believe. I think I'm going to believe that, just not because of him or anything, but because this is the way Trump would operate. He would get the specialist who would be able to find this in a technical way. Like, nobody's going to be able to debunk this except one or two other people in the entire world, I guess, because we're not that expert at this stuff. We have to really do the battle of the experts. I'm just going to believe him and say, yeah, you caught a bullet in a video, and it has a straight line, and you're saying it's 50 caliber, and it's going, let's just pretend it is real then. Let's just do that. And it's going 50, it's traveling at 500 to 600 feet per second. He determined that. He determined the caliber. I don't know how, 50 caliber. And you see the line. Great. But if this is true, it can't be. And he claimed all this, and then he claimed it came over from the left. So if it came over, when we're looking at Charlie, that would be his right, but it came from the back over in that direction, and there's like a car back there. Well, I don't know. I need Google Earth. But if it is from that angle, it looks like it's going to have to pass. There's no other way it's going to do this exit wound unless it passes through Charlie's neck, spine, and artery. Whatever it was had to pass through the artery no matter what, because of what we saw. But I don't know if it hit the spine or not, but in that direction it would hit the spine. So it wouldn't make a straight line. So if it's causing all this, it's from the camera. So let's say it's from the camera, it just hits the artery and it comes out the front. Great. That sounds more likely. And I don't know why nobody's proposing the camera. Because here it is, right here. You see the camera? There were two things back there. I don't know why some people are proposing it's the gun, but I don't know why the mainstream people aren't proposing this. They're saying camera gun, that's stupid. Why can't that be a gun right there? It's a very large video camera. And then somebody said there was a video. It could be two different cameras back here. This could be, an iPhone kind of a camera that possibly Candace Owens saw some kind of video from back there. Who knows what that's all about? But there's plenty of stuff right here where one of them could be a gun. Why is it so? It's like the most obvious, if the neck is an exit wound, that this is your gun. It's like on a downslope. It doesn't hit the spine. Okay? So there's your video camera gun, not a regular camera gun. All right. So okay, I could believe you, Jason, but listen to what happens now. Okay. 11 is the killer, and it's the end. Okay? There was no visible entry wound on the back of Charlie's neck. That so far, from anything we've heard so far, but I'm going on no visible blood that anybody's reporting seeing. Nobody's reporting any kind of visible stuff. Now, there could be one below the end, but okay. So the conclusion from that is no visible entry wound, which is one of the wordles. Okay, it's another no visible. I'm gonna capitalize all the wordles that came up over the last 2 weeks. They're giving hints at Wordle my dear it's probably Jason himself who knows it's all these people, the same people. I'm not gonna do it because it bothers people when you capitalize stuff. I should probably take out the relay too. Anyway, no visible entry wound would be more consistent with a smaller 22 caliber bullet, not a 50 caliber bullet, which would leave a visible entry wound and blood. A 50 caliber bullet would definitely leave some blood. It wouldn't be like a 22, which easily goes into the skin, closes itself behind it. I mean, sometimes it'll leave blood, whatever, but no, it's just more consistent that it was a 22 bullet. However, it is not possible for a subsonic 22 bullet to cause so much internal damage to a major vein or artery in Charlie's neck that we witnessed, okay, and also create such a large straight line exit wound out the front of Charlie's neck. So we gotta have one or the other. And it's gotta be a subsonic bullet, it's gotta be small enough to not make an entry wound, fast enough, it's gotta be subsonic, which means it doesn't have a lot of energy because it's small, and it's gotta be subsonic, and it's gotta do all that damage and pass out the neck. Okay? So, and if you ask Google, can a 22 caliber bullet traveling 1120 feet per second hit a major artery or vein in a person's neck and exit the neck in a straight line? And here's the answer. While a 22 caliber bullet traveling at 1120 feet per second could strike a major artery or vein in the neck, it is highly unlikely to pass through the neck in a perfectly straight line. The anatomy of the neck and the nature of the bullets passing through the soft tissue make a straight line trajectory impossible. So, anyway, the conclusion from this is, conclusion. There was no visible entry wound. No visible entry wound is consistent with a smaller 22 bullet, so it wasn't a 50 caliber bullet. However, it is not possible for a subsonic 22 bullet to cause so much internal damage to a major vein or artery in Charlie's neck and also create such a large straight line exit wound out of the front of Charlie's neck. Therefore, the shooting was fake. Charlie is still alive. Prove me wrong. All right, so let's do this. This is going to be longer than I thought, but I don't care. I'm going for that money. I don't care. Oh no, what happened? Can you guys see this? Why is this dim now? Oh no. Can you, oh. Oh, no. No, I did this earlier. No, I proved that I could see this thing. No. Oh my gosh. Okay, so I'm going to go through if you can't see it, it's fine. I will, if you can't see this, I will record it on a separate video. All right, everybody. I'm going to rescue this. So I don't know what technical difficulties I had before, but we're going to go through this, and I'm going to just simply play what I already did, the audio for it, while I just scroll here silently. Okay, let's go. Can't see this? I will record it on a separate video and splice them together and add it to the end. So let's just go, and I'll do it twice. This is the video at YouTube over here to the left that shows. Lord. I went through all this trouble. It's okay. Okay. So this is the charging paper, and I went through the notes. And what I did was I went through while this guy is.
No shell casings were found on the roof, suggesting a bolt action rather than auto-loading weapon.
Okay, so this guy is reading what's called the charging paper, charging document, which really the interesting. I mean, they have all accounts, but it really starts on page 3, and at time marker 6:22 on September 10th. I'm not going to read the whole thing, but I put little red editing notes in the very places that I want to talk about in this document. And that's all. We're going to go through that, and then we're done. Hang in there, people. This is the most interesting part, actually. Prove me wrong. At time marker 6:42, I have the link to the actual video. So at time marker 6:42, he says, police found the suspected murder weapon, a bolt-action 30-06 rifle nearby. Okay, so this is the only place in the entire charging document that the term bolt-action 30-06, that the term 30-06 shows up at all. So they never say that it was a 30-06. And the reason is it's a mistake. It wasn't a 30-06. He didn't even, whatever. There might have been a 30-06. It's just not mentioned anywhere else. It's not mentioned as what killed. There's no autopsy, so we don't know what size round supposedly killed Charlie Kirk. But I just wanted to say that's the only place. And then when you go to Grok or you talk to even Gary Melton, I think it would surprise him to say that the term 30-06 is used once and once only in the entire probable cause statement right at the very beginning, and they talk about finding this gun and it has his DNA on it, but they haven't linked it to the roof until they do the DNA on the handprint. So it's all useless. You can go in circles, and there's no line of sight, so it's just irrelevant stuff in a lot of ways. So he read this probable cause word for word, and I'm giving you the very few, even when he says in some places, or he says so, he'll say so in 2 places, and I put that in here as a difference from what's here. Now he stumbled sometimes where he'll say, he hardly said but he'll say, police found the suspected, like he'll say something like that. Police found the suspected murder weapon. Like, he'll make the mistake as far as reading a word and then he'll read it again, but the actual words, when he does it correctly, is exactly what's in here. So at time marker 7:22, he said at 7:22, after shooting Mr. Kirk, Robinson hid the gun, discarded the clothing he wore when he fired the rifle, and told. Oh, shoot. What happened? Stop. Oh, I shouldn't be goofing around over here. Did I put it on pause? Sorry, guys. Don't do this to me. Don't do this to me, anybody. There it is, okay. Told his lover/roommate to delete incriminating text messages. That is what the document says. But what he said here, interestingly, is he didn't read the part that says lover/roommate. He only said he told his roommate to delete the incriminating text messages. He never called him his lover. And that goes toward me saying Tyler Robinson doesn't set off my gaydar. Let me just do that, actually. Hold on a second. Hold on. I can't believe okay, let's do it. 7:22.
At the Washington County Sheriff's Office. DNA consistent with Robinson was found on the rifle's trigger.
After shooting Mr. Kirk, Robinson hid the gun, discarded the clothing he wore when he fired the rifle, and told his roommate to delete incriminating text messages.
Okay, so he just said roommate without saying lover. And told his lover roommate to delete the incriminating text messages is what's in the charging documents. Sorry about this, guys. Okay, let's go on. Tyler Robinson isn't gay. So I think this is evidence that they're figuring out Tyler Robinson is kind of a plant. He works for Trump. He's not gay. It wasn't his lover. That was all BS. Made up by that guy, the gay guy. But it's not his lover. I don't know. It's a big difference here. This is not small, you guys. This is not a small change here on page 3 when he's reading that. These are significant changes. So on page 4 at time marker 826, it reads, the event at UVU was announced far in advance and garnered significant publicity and interest. Consequently, several hundred people attended. Now, that's what it says, and I don't know why they would say several hundred when it's obvious it was at least, I don't know. They keep saying it was over 3,000, and yet Gary Milton said you need to go there because everything is a lot smaller than it looks. That doesn't look like a 3,000. It doesn't. I mean, I've been to concerts that are 2,000 to 3,000 size, and that doesn't look like a 3,000 size amphitheater. So I think they're getting the count wrong. There wasn't 3,000 people there, and this is very important because this is also the first of a long line of events. It's like starting a concert tour, and the first event is hardly not that many people. It did look like it was very crowded though, but I don't know if it was. I just think the motivation is that they're not. Charlie Kirk wasn't as popular as people were saying, and financially TPUSA was really bleeding a lot of money, and they weren't getting as much support, and actually things are fading out, not increasing. So I don't know, several hundred people. I would say there's probably 2,000. I don't know. It was just an interesting statement here when everybody was saying it was over 3,000, and the charging papers say several hundred people attended. That's all. At the bottom of page 4, Mr. Kirk was rushed to a nearby hospital where he was declared deceased. The medical examiner's reporting is pending. This is what he actually said. That's what the charging documents say. At 10:33, his name, by the way, is Jeffrey Gray. Sorry. Jeffrey Gray. He said, quote, the medical examiner's report is still pending. Let's just do that one actually. 10:33.
The medical examiner's report is still pending.
Oh, whoops, wait a minute. Sorry guys. I was going in fast mode because I was going through the whole thing quickly.
Kirk was rushed to a nearby hospital where he was declared deceased. The medical examiner's report is still pending.
So this is a little bit different. The medical examiner's report. The is in there. He doesn't say at all, hardly. I think that's the first time he says and it's only the second time he says something different than what was there. The first time was he cut out the word lover when he said lover roommate in the document. He just skipped lover. He said the roommate only. And this is only the second time on page 4 where he says something different. He put in the word still. He also, this whole area was probably edited a lot because he says so a couple of times that he doesn't say. Watch. Let's go through this. He doesn't read what's actually here. You see the heading? It says the UVU surveillance investigation. That's not what he says. He usually read the headings correctly. So let's just do this whole thing. Let's just do this whole thing.
The medical examiner's report is still pending. So UVU surveillance. So at the moment of this...
So he does two so's here. The UVU surveillance investigation is not what he said, so UVU surveillance without the investigation part. And then he starts with so at the moment. He does two so's. It just sounds like maybe he's taking a break here and he's tired, but he kind of falls apart here a little bit. And I think this whole area is a lot of trouble. Like he spent a lot of time rewriting and writing all this stuff, and when he says so, he's like, yeah, so this is very telling. Alright, on page 5, at 12:30, well, this is what I was telling you, the low crawling. At time marker 12:30, let's just do it.
Covering the roof and discovered that it recorded an individual dressed in dark clothing cross the railing from the public walkway and drop onto the roof at approximately 12:15 p.m. Although the individual moved out of the camera's view for a short time, the camera again captured the individual running across the roof and then low crawling to the area the UVU officer recognized as where the suspected sniper had dropped into a prone shooting position. After a short time, which matches the known time of the shot, the individual arose and ran across the roof to the northeast.
Okay, so let's just go through that again. There was no, he said they low crawled and then dropped to a prone position. So it's kind of a misnomer. He should have said he crawled instead of low crawled, because low crawl means he's dropped to the prone position and was doing this. But at 12:30, low crawling, he says, and I put in parentheses, Gray Hughes misstated that this document said the shooter shimmied left, and he never did that. There's no shimmy in this document, and this is the only document. There are no other documents out there so far. So he got that wrong. At 14:43, he talks about the bolt action gun, bolt action rifle without mentioning 30-06.
If you're a life coach or service entrepreneur and you want to feel so confident about the work that you do and create consistent clients,
Bolt action rifle wrapped in a towel.
Wait, good Lord. Sorry about this. The way he did it at 6:42. I'm just saying that's the last. You should have said, we found 14:43. It's just very interesting that they left out 30-06 on this second thing right here.
Found in a controlled fall. He then picks up the item and runs toward the northeast end of campus. Expanded crime scene investigation. Law enforcement officers followed the suspect's escape path to the northeast end of campus, where they believe the suspect left campus and entered a wooded area. In that wooded area, investigators found a bolt-action rifle wrapped in a towel.
Okay, so you notice that? They found a bolt-action rifle wrapped in a towel, not a 30-06 bolt-action rifle. Just a bolt-action. So I don't know what's going on. I think that might be anything. I'm just showing you it's not a change in what they have here. I'm just pointing that out. Oh, this one's very interesting at 14:59. You tell me what you hear him say here. Ready?
The rifle contained 1 spent round and 3 unspent rounds. This is consistent with the facts officers observed at the time of and immediately after the shootings. No shell.
Did you hear immediately after the shootings? Plural? Like, there was one shot supposedly. So these guys know what really happened now. They know there was 2 shootings. They know that there was no line of sight here, that that whoever was on the rooftop shot something to cover the other shot. That's if there was a real shooting at all. But this is really telling. You heard it. Okay? See, at 4:59, immediately after the shootings, not immediately after the shooting. Now, he says immediately after the shootings. The charging papers say shooting. singular. And I don't know why he would say that. And I don't think it's a Freudian slip. I think he's used to saying shootings. When they're talking behind the scene, he's getting tired. It's toward the end of this reading papers. Okay.
Suspect is seen crossing the railway off the open walkway and onto the roof, where he leaves the camera's view. A camera later captures the suspect as he runs across the roof to the suspected shooting position. Immediately after the shot was fired, a camera captures the suspect running across the roof carrying an item whose shape is consistent with a rifle. The suspect is then seen climbing down from the roof. He appears to drop the item he was carrying as he hits the ground in a controlled fall. He then picks up the item and runs toward the northeast end of campus. Expanded crime scene investigation. Law enforcement officers followed the suspect's escape path to the northeast end of campus, where they believe the suspect left campus and entered a wooded area. In that wooded area, investigators found a bolt-action rifle wrapped in a towel. The rifle contained 1 spent round and 3 unspent rounds. This is consistent with the facts officers observed at the time of and immediately after the shootings. No shell casings were found on the...
Okay, immediately after the shootings. You heard him. I don't know if you guys can see it. It says immediately after the shooting. Okay, and the charging papers. That's really interesting. 1609. So here, he changed they're changing the defendant consistent with the defendant. Let's see what he says.
Chow, Bella Chow, Bella Chow, Chow Chow. The 4th cartridge. If you read this, you are gay. LMAO. The rifle, ammunition rounds, and towel were sent for forensic processing. DNA consistent with defendant was found on the...
So he says he started to say Robinson. He started to read what is actually in the document. Okay, the rifle, ammunition rounds, and towel were sent for forensic processing. DNA consistent with Robinson's was found on the trigger, is what the charging papers say. But what he's reading is DNA consistent with defendant was found. That's what he said. So he changed Robinson's to defendant here. It's written Robinson everywhere else except here. It's the only place he calls him defendant. Now later they'll link the DNA or say the DNA linked with defendant. I think this is the only place they mention the word defendant. Everywhere else they say Robinson, which is interesting. It's almost like I don't understand why there's a change there. I'm just pointing it out. I'm pointing out all the weird little inconsistencies from what he's saying and the charging document. And they're important because every time he does a little change, he's saying He doesn't say very often, but the 2 places where he changes it, like they've had a problem saying whether it's Robinson or defendant, like a different person's DNA, right? Defendant, not Robinson. Just really quickly, let's just do this fast.
Father's request, the family friend met with Robinson and his parents and convinced Robinson to turn himself in. The family friend spoke to police and reported telling Robinson that it would be best if he brought all evidence with him to the sheriff's office to avoid police having to search his parents' home. The friend also asked Robinson...
Okay, so he calls him the family friend. This isn't a big deal, but at 2011, instead of the family friend, he says the friend also asked. This is not a big deal. I'm just showing you every single little change. The charging documents say the family friend consistently. This is the only time he didn't. He just said the friend also asked, and he just missed the word family, and that's all. That was just a mistake on his part. I don't think that's anything important. 2042.
Robinson if he had any clothes that were related to what he did. Robinson replied that he had disposed of the clothes in different areas. The roommate. Police interviewed Robinson's roommate, a biological male who was involved in a romantic relationship with Robinson. The roommate told police that the roommate received messages from Robinson about the shooting, and he did provide those messages to police.
So this is really interesting. This is what the charging documents say. The roommate told the police that the roommate received messages from Robinson about the shooting and provided those messages to the police. Okay, and he read, that's what the charging documents say. What he just said right there, and he stuttered again. The roommate told police that the roommate received messages from Robinson about the shooting, and he did provide those messages. He did provide, those messages to the police. It's like the mess. It's also subtle again, but these are important, slight little changes that show what's going on behind the scenes. I'm very big on grammar, so yeah. Am I still recording at all? You guys see me back here? Oh, my hair. Okay. Okay. And that he did provide messages to police. All right. That was just a change. Like, he provided. It just sounds like they're changing their story on. The roommate told police that the roommate received messages from Robinson about the shooting and provided those messages to the police. It sounds like this is what happened. Okay, the story in the document that they're putting out is that the roommate told the police that that he received messages from Robinson about the shooting, and the roommate provided those messages to the police that were talking to him at the time. Okay, that's what the charging documents originally say. But what has changed is the roommate told police that he received messages from Robinson about the shootings, and he did provide those messages to some other police that aren't there talking to him. That's a very big difference because these messages are really important and they can't get the story straight on the messages. So the version that's in the document is he's talking to police about the messages and he's giving the messages to the police that he's talking to about the messages. But the way this gray guy is saying, why can't I remember names anymore? I think I really am having Alzheimer's, people. Jeffrey Gray, I cannot remember anybody's name, is way worse than before. It could be just making room for shit in my head, but sorry about swearing. You guys, this is a very significant difference because they're changing the story slightly on what's going on with the text messages. Because the first story is police are talking to the roommate and he gives the messages to the people, to the police as he's talking about it, the messages. Yeah, we did messages, and then he gives them to the police. The next story, the story that this guy is saying, Jeffrey Gray. There's too many Grays here. There's a Gary and a Gray Hughes. That's the problem, huh? Gray Hughes and Jeffrey Gray. I got it. That's why I'm confused. Gray Hughes and Jeffrey Gray. Okay. But that's really a big, now that I think about it, that's a big deal. Difference. They can't get the story kind of straight on where the messages came from. Okay? He gave them to some other police at a different time, like the FBI. Friend also asked, family friend also asked, right? That's huge, guys. Shooting that he did provide them, and he stuttered again there. You notice that? He stuttered. Every time there's a change, he's stuttering. 3 or 4 times now. These are big to me. 26, 33. Prove me wrong.
Speak any language at the touch of a button. Yes, now it's possible. Meet and Nets, the cutting edge.
Oh, this isn't a big deal.
Ideals of this great country and the principles embedded.
This isn't a big deal, but I'm just going to go through.
To share the details of the investigation itself and comment on the case. Because I want to ensure a fair and impartial trial.
Oh, wait a minute. I got the wrong time marker here. Several. Sorry.
Since Trump got into office, my dad has been pretty diehard MAGA. Robinson, I'm going to turn myself in willingly. One of my neighbors here is a deputy for the sheriff. Again, you are all I worry about, love. That came from Robinson. Roommate, I'm much more worried about you. Robinson, don't talk to the media, please. Don't take any interviews or make any comments. If any police ask you questions, ask for a lawyer and stay silent. The search for Robinson's residence. Police executed a search warrant on Robinson's residence. During that search, police discovered a shell casing with etchings like the etchings found on the shells in the rifle near UVU. Police also found several target boards with bullet holes in Robinson's home.
Okay, so I had the wrong. I'm glad I did this because it's at 2533. The charging documents say police found several targets with bullet holes, and he said here police found several target boards with bullets holes in them. That's all. Just target boards versus targets is the difference here. That's not a big difference. It doesn't matter. So at 2651,
home.
Let's go to 2651.
Critical to this great American experiment, but so too are the protections afforded to the accused found in the Fifth and Sixth Amendments. The right against self-incrimination, the right to a speedy and public trial, the right to the effective assistance of counsel, the right to confront one's accusers, and the right to compel the attendance of witnesses. And
now, isn't that interesting? He's talking about the Fifth and Sixth Amendments here. What do you think the first thing it listed in the Fifth Amendment? There's a long list of stuff, which is fantastic. All these rights. What do you think the first right listed in the Fifth Amendment is? Yeah, you guessed it. It's a right to a grand jury indictment. That's how important it is. It's listed first. Before anything in the rest of the Fifth Amendment, before anything in the rest of the Sixth Amendment. All right? And so he mentions it here a little bit later. So I'm glad he's pretending like he's following the rights when he isn't. BS, and Trump's going to change that stuff. This whole thing, I hope he parades Charlie Kirk out and says, "Well, here he is." After they convict him and just about ready to hang this kid.
Motions. I'm going to explain just the procedural steps. We're not a grand jury. We don't have a grand jury system like the federal courts do. It's a preliminary hearing system.
Right. It's a Nazi system. We don't have a grand jury system like the federal courts, and I put in parentheses, and 21 states. Utah is one of 30 that don't, and they will in the future because this is the future. It's just dumb. Okay, guys, that's it. Went way longer than I thought. Hang in there, everybody. Oh, shoot. Living my best life, and I'm just going to hand in this whole video. If you guys see this end part, I'm handing this in with my piece of paper, and hopefully I'll win my $3,000. Bye. Hang in, everybody. Living my best life, and Godspeed to everybody coming out the other end in one piece. That's PEACE and PIEC. Look at that hair. Holy cow. Bye. All right. Okay. No. Mr. Gordon, Jason Gordon, I I think it's funny that I started this video saying it's going to be 5 or 10 minutes, and it turned out to be 122 minutes, and a little bit longer now. All right, I'm going to go cut and splice this in Flixier. My Flixier crashed earlier. I hope I could do this and submit this. I'm also going to print this out. Easy. I'm going to put this in a PDF file. I'm just going to apply the changes. So I'm going to send you 3 files. I'm going to send you a link to this YouTube video and send you 2 files. We're going to download this file that I just worked on that shows all the corrections to the, okay? Shows all the corrections to the, and then this other one. All right. Come on, man. Let me win this thing. I need the money. This one, just like this, we're gonna put get Nicole Young and Nay Pelletier entry for what is it called? Citizen journalist. Prove me wrong competition. Prove me wrong competition. Okay, I'm gonna print this out. I'm gonna send it right now. It's gonna be sent. I gotta go to work. It's gotta get to work soon, but let's just do this, and we're out. Print it out, insert page numbers. Page numbers at the bottom. I always like to, sorry about this, guys. It's already long, so might as well go. Done. Alright, can you see all this? Print PDF. Prove me wrong. Sending it in. So 2 PDF files and a link to this video, and we'll talk to you later. Live my best life. Hang in there, everybody. And Godspeed to everybody coming out the other side in one piece. P-I-E-C, P-A-C, bye. P-A-C, P-I-E-C, bye. P-E-A-C-E and P-I-E-C-E, bye.